All right, this is going to be a walkthrough of some of the key tools or documents that we recommend using on an integration project, particularly a complex integration project. There's other articles that explain what a complex integration project is. Um, but these are example tools. They're not, you don't have to use these tools. You probably need something like these tools or something that is meeting the same business intent of these tools, and they need to be basically documented tools or written tools digitally, obviously. Of course they will be, but make sure you don't shortcut on these and just say we're just going to do this in our head or make it up. These make a giant difference on the success of a project and also on the long-term maintainability of the project, of being able to basically manage what you've built and have it transferable across other people. So don't shortcut on the tools. There's some good templates here and references that you can use. But again, you don't have to use these. You can use whatever you want. These are just examples to explain the concepts of what's needed. So basically, this is a summary of the 6 tools that we're going to talk about. I'm going to walk through them as we're going through this. The first one is assembling the team. On an integration project, there are 8 critical roles. There's a separate article there. One of the tracking tool that we've got has 4 of these tools are in this one tracking tool sheet. That's a Google sheet that we created that's got different tabs on it. But this is literally just going through and filling out the names of the people that are filling in each role and what company they belong to. And then this also references what tools or documents they're responsible for and has a description of those roles with links to other Help Center articles. And then you may have other roles that you name and fill in and assign on the tracking sheet. So it doesn't matter what sheet you use. This is just one example of one. What matters is that you get it in writing and you don't skip. So the first place I go if there's escalations is back to this document and say, or something like it, show me who's filling these roles. And usually I found out that there's not someone, the roles are, there's roles that are not filled or hats that aren't being worn, or the person in that role is not qualified to do the job, or didn't even know what the job was, or didn't even know they had the role. So this is adding clarity to that. The integration strategy and documents, there's 2 of these. One is the data mapping sheet. The second one is the live data takeover plan. These are covered in more detail in these in the separate articles, and also in the solution architect article. There's a video that goes through more details and references these documents. But the data mapping sheet on an integration, a complex integration, that means there's data being shared between 2 platforms or synced between 2 platforms. This is basically identifying what data entities or what data tables in the source platform, what is the corresponding data table in the destination platform. So this is kind of a table level or data entity level piece that's also talking through what endpoints available or how am I going to access this data in the different ERP systems. This is a complex integration because it's got quite a few data tables in an ERP to CIMcloud integration project, but it shows you what this document is or gives you an idea. And again, there's more detail. The live data takeover plan, this is basically just a plan that's produced by the solution architect also that basically identifies if you've got a sandbox environment that the integration could be done in, if you have one or more of the 2 platforms you're integrating is live, particularly if the one that's going to be receiving data, it's the destination platform for data that's critical for the operation of that live platform, is being taken over through the sync mechanism. There's risk of basically disrupting your users when you do that live data cutover, so that live data takeover. So there needs to be a plan, and it needs to be an experienced person that does it. The solution architect's always going to be an experienced person on the technical and commercial side. They're going to balance out, should I shut down the software application, or how do we do the live data takeover plan, and then how do we test and validate it after it's done to know that we didn't screw it up. The goal is to not mess up your users or have minimal disruption on your users when you do the live cutover. So a proper plan can help you mitigate that risk. The technical plan and strategy, this goes through the detailed technical plan of what is the sync tool or sync mechanism, how are we using it, how are we hitting data and getting data in and out of the two platforms, and basically what's being built. Are we going to buy and configure? Are we using a cloud sync platform? Are we going to build something in-house? Are we using native tools we got in one of the systems that we're integrating with CIMcloud? That's all decided by the technical planner in this technical plan and strategy. This should result in at least one written document that's the technical plan and strategy of how this thing's going to be built. So this, if these documents is what to do, this technical strategy is how to do it. And then the planning and managing of the project, this is actually getting it done. So you're going to have some concept of what they call in professional project management a work breakdown structure, what I just call a task list. It's your project task list or what needs to get done. So you're just listing out the steps and what you're doing. You can get fancy if you get into a bigger project and do Gantt charts and start and end dates and critical path and dependencies, or you can keep it simple and just throw a list together and throw it in a spreadsheet. Maybe have some deadlines on some key milestones that you're tracking. But there should be something there that resembles a handful of milestones that you're seeing in this example sheet. We've got an example project tracking tool. This is one of the tabs, and it shows you an example. This thing's just using a Google Sheet that's got some expand collapse that you're seeing here, and a simple way to just check stuff off that's done and assign it to people. And then your milestones are in blue there, are kind of the major steps of the project. So that's just an example again to show you what a proper project tracking tool would look like. That plan would be built by the project planner and then maintained by the project manager. And if there's big deviations, the project manager would go back to the project planner and solution architect. If it was not them, people can be wearing multiple hats, to basically get revisions made to the project plan. The other thing that we highly recommend is the project managers maintain an issues list, and they maintain an ad hoc to-dos list. The ad hoc to-do is really for small stuff that if you're having weekly or bi-weekly or monthly project meetings, it's stuff that generally should be done between the meetings and is not significant enough to go modify the whole project plan for. It's just to-dos that people need to get knocked out. We like using Google Sheets for these. You can have central, because they're central and people can access them. When we're doing smaller projects, you may have bigger project tracking tools that you use. All that's fine. Use whatever tool you want. If you want to use this one, you can download it. It's a Google Sheet, and you can download it into Excel or your own Google Sheet and use it. And share it with your team. But the issues list is basically anything that comes up that needs to be discussed. Those discussion topics go on there. And then when you do your check-in meetings, you basically go through the discussion topics and either schedule breakout meetings for a smaller group of people or have them right in your recurring project meetings. And the project manager would be the moderator of those meetings. They would work to decide what the priorities are to be discussed. And then those discussions are either going to result in no action because we solved it on the call, or we decided it's not worth solving, or it's going to result in to-dos or potentially a revision to the project plan, which there might be a to-do, revise the project plan that's on the project manager, for example. And then basically part of the agenda, there's an agenda in the intro tab on this tracking sheet that walks through a sample agenda. But part of what you're doing is checking on the overall project plan in your project check-in meetings. You are checking in on the to-dos to keep accountability built in. And then there's a scribe at the meeting that typically would be the moderator, but you can split those two roles. You need a moderator, you need a scribe. Typically, both of those would be the project manager that's tracking this. And then basically you're going through and checking off the to-dos and verifying they're getting done. If someone wants to challenge a to-do, they could, or if they have an issue with what happened, they can drop it back on the issues list for more discussion. So the project check-in meetings at whatever interval they're on, the goal is to track the overall project plan and milestones. Are we on track, off track? Do we need to communicate anything out up to the program manager or other business stakeholders? Does anything need to be escalated? That would end up as to-dos, by the way. And then we're basically mining for issues or topics that haven't already been added. People will add them between the meetings for discussion. We're discussing the topics. That's going to result in to-dos or revisions to the project plan. You keep that up until the project's done live and completely closed out. So those are the key documents that we recommend for any integration project. They're fairly straightforward, and they will make a giant difference on the success of a project.